Words matter. And when you're living with MS, many words can be complex, confusing, and even scary at times. But learning more about the words we use when we're talking about MS can be empowering. Staying in the know can help people be accurate when they describe their MS and be proactive in their care. Let's learn more together. Welcome to this edition of Wise Up Words and Why They Matter. I'm John Strum, and joining me for today's conversation is Rich, who lives with progressive MS. Thanks for joining us today, Rich.
Hi, John. Great to be here.
Rich, let me ask you, when were you first diagnosed with MS?
The official diagnosis was January 2002, but I exhibited symptoms for years before that.
That's a familiar sounding story, actually. How has living with progressive MS impacted your day to day routine?
It's completely dominated it. I rely on people for activities of daily living, from the getting out of bed in the morning till getting back into bed at night. It's just 24/7 pretty much.
What sort of support systems do you have in place to help you get through each day?
Well, I have personal care attendants who come help me during the day, during various days. I have family members that come help me, and even friends that will come help me in particular situations.
So, this conversation is all about the words that we use. How would you describe the emotional burden of living with progressive MS?
Emotional burden, I'd say it's very frustrating and depressing to be such a burden. That's the main issue I deal with every day. But I have found ways to minimize that and found ways to deal with it as best I can.
Have you noticed any changes in the way you talk about your MS from the time you were first diagnosed to today?
Oh yes, when I was initially diagnosed, I was very secretive about who I'd tell, how much I'd tell. People noticed that something was wrong with me, but I typically wouldn't bring it up. And friends and family would notice things, they'd ask, but I'd only give limited information. Only because I didn't want to share at that time.
What do the words progressive and progression mean to you?
Progressive and progression. I associate both of those words with the type of MS that I have. I have primary progressive. So the MS I have is going to primarily progress. The goal is to keep me from getting worse. I know I'm not going to get better, but it's just going to progress.
When it comes to understanding or defining your MS, what one word comes to mind?
Frustrating.
Well, Rich, thanks for helping us wise up to the words you use to describe living with progressive MS.
Oh, you're welcome, John.